G'day everyone, welcome along. Steel Horse here, and we're on the Valley, the old farm with Gilles and his mother Madeline. And Gilles is feeling pretty good today. The weather's starting to turn, spring is in the air. He's keen to get on with a few chores around the place. Had a quick look on the contract board earlier, and unless something's changed, there is a fertilizing contract we could have a look at. We might just let that go a little bit longer and see if anything else pops up. The number one priority today, of course, is to get our own field sorted, and he wants to get some sugar beet in, which involves ploughing a little bit more out. So what we'll do is get our plough on here. He marked out sort of where he had in mind back when we put the barley in, and now that he's sort of had a little bit longer to think about it, the grass isn't long enough to warrant cutting before he ploughs this strip out. But what we're going to do here is very much run down this side. We need to set to create fields, and put the plough down, and away we go. I think I mentioned in the last episode is Mother's not at all happy with him ploughing up all the grass out here and putting crop in. He's tried to explain that there's really not a lot of choice for the moment. They need to get some funds sorted and, get on with trying to stabilize her possibilities for retirement in the future. And she doesn't want to hear much of that, to be honest. So he figures it's going to be a bit of a long run thing. Now, what he's thinking up the center here is might just leave a little strip of grass separating the two parts of the field. So we'll just sort of find a line, something like this. That way we'll just give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room, but we'll also stay out of the barley crop. We don't want to be driving on that. Because he's never planted sugar beet before, he's not entirely sure he wants to do an enormous amount of it. So it really is just a chance to get some sugar that we control. So we're kind of hoping we probably do a little bit just tidying up this edge. We can go a little bit closer to the field silo that we've put in for our silage. There we go. Works. That's probably about as close as we're going to get there. We'll leave that grass there so that we can get to the apple trees. Let's get this end squared off a little bit. Yeah, so what he started to wonder is with his mother not being happy about it, maybe next year put the grass back and even potentially populate it with apple trees. Now, for that to work over the longer term, that means we're going to need another field. So the challenge that introduces, of course, is it's all more money. He's already got his eye on the sugar mill so that we can solve the sugar production problem for the bakery. You can see we had our little mill up there working, producing flour from the small amount of grain that we had. I can't remember if it was wheat or barley, but so there's a couple of pallets of flour sitting there. Ready to go down to the bakery. His mother's still finding reasons not to go down, so not sure if we'll take the flour down today, but we're certainly in a position where we could make a run through the bakery when we feel we need it. Now that we've got that flour sitting there, we've got a trailer loaded up with some apples, and as you can see around the trees, there's a few more popping out. So a little bit of income coming in without necessarily setting the world on fire. So just see how we go. We don't have any planned expenses at this stage today. We've got the seed that we need and the piece of equipment that he fixed up. The old horse pulled. Well, actually, that's not going to plant sugar beet, is it? So we're going to need to sort something out to be able to put sugar beet in the ground, and don't think he's thought through that very well. Maybe there's something in the store that can help us out. We'll have to go and have a look in a minute. Not much more to do here. So we'll just finish this stretch off. And then get across to the shop and see what we can find to potentially put our seed in for the sugar beet. That's the end of that job. Don't think we can really justify making this strip any bigger at this stage. We really need to get a handle on what sort of yield that will give us. We can sneak through here. And that spot by the tree, I think, worked out to be a pretty reasonable spot to leave this plough. Although we could put it in the shed over there. That would put it out of the way because we're not going to need it for a while. Start a new habit and just take one more thing off his mum's mind to be cranky about. Let's duck over the store and see what's on offer. Yeah, so our seeder indeed doesn't do the required sugar beet, which is not surprising. So what have we got in terms of choices? Some big ones. There's a couple of smaller options. They're all way out of our price range. What have we got here? 2.5 meters. That wouldn't take too long. What's that one? 2.7 meters. They're much the same. They do the same thing. 640. This one takes a little bit more seed in it. 45 horsepower. So I think this is the one we'll grab. So that should do the trick. Duck back to our yard and put some seed in it. Not too heavy on the back. Change the seed type. Let's see how we go. Looks like it takes a little bit of fertilizer as well, so we could potentially get 2 jobs done in one go here. So there's our seed over there. Actually, all the rest of our fertilizer is in the fertilizer spreader. So I think on this occasion, we'll just load you up with seed. So one of the things we learnt from our fertilizer spreader was that it's very difficult to get whatever's in the spreader back out again. So for now, it's not a big deal. We'll go ahead and put the seed in and then pick up the fertilizing when we get a crop out of the ground, I think is the plan. Let's line up on this edge. Set the seed to be our sugar beet. Pop you down. Turn you on. And there we go. Bit of a mechanical operation, but she bumps down the hill pretty quickly. Works a treat. This job shouldn't take us too long at all. We should be done by lunchtime quite comfortably. Go back around and do this piece over here. Working very nicely on the side of on the rear of this tractor. This is just the last couple of rows down the center. And then we'll tidy up a couple of bits at the headland at this end. And that'll be the planting done for the day. Real combination of old and new with this electric tractor pulling the mechanical planter. There's that last little spot there. And that should do it. And we can get up by the fence, I think, and back round to the house. Just enough room to run up the side here. That worked out quite nicely. And you can see there's 3 pallets of flour there. So must shut that gate at the bottom of the hill too. Don't want the chooks getting out onto the road. How are the chooks coming along? We've got 13, so they're starting to grow. We'll get some more chickens next month. They got plenty of food, so we should get 971 out of 1200. So with any luck, we'll get to the middle of the year pretty close. And we've got a few eggs sitting there. So we should pop the planter in with the seeder, I think. The only other thing that could pop up, of course, and is that going to go in that door, is we might get a contract that's just going to fit in there, is it? If we come in square. Maybe we'll put it in front of the plough, seeing we're lined up more in this doorway. Just get through the door there. Right. Let's go and have a look at the contract situation. And there are a few more contracts. This one looks like the best one on offer. Field 79. Where's that? Field 79's all the way down the bottom of the map. Just past our bakery. And more importantly, how big is it? How much fertilizer would be required for that? 79 is going to take about half a bag of fertilizer. So what we could do is we've got enough fertilizer in our little fertilizer spreader, is we could take that contract, worry about borrowing the equipment, and run down there ourselves, which might be a good strategy. Let's accept that one. Go and grab our spreader out of the shed. And pop down to the good chance to check all is secure at the bakery. There we go, 900 litres should be plenty to do this contract. He's just pulled over here. This is the field that he's thinking about making an offer on. So we're just here at field 6. And as much as he'd like field 13, we're not going to afford it. From what he knows, it's pretty good soil. It's obviously right next to the dairy and right over the road from us. And it's 80,000. So that's, if we were to buy a field to put some crop in, that's probably the one we would go for. Early days. So that means that on top of the next set, it becomes a balancing act Do we put the money into a field first and then the sugar mill, or because until we get the sugar mill, we won't have the sugar to be able to run anything through our bakery. So it's a choice. Which comes first, chicken or the egg? Of course, we can just make bread with the bakery at the moment and hold out. His mum's certainly showing no signs of wanting to get back into baking, so that might be the best course of action. Lots to think about. Gilles, lots to think about. So as we pop over the rise, there's our bakery just over on the end of the row. The building's over there on the right-hand side. A little bit of vacant land in this area, which is interesting. Hasn't really thought about options down here to sort of concentrate on getting things sorted at home. Now, what's the way into this field? That's the bakery right there. I think this road comes right up alongside the field that we're looking for. Because we're not very wide, it'll take us a few trips up and down, but we've got no bigger plans for this afternoon, so let's see how we go. We get just a little bit of discoloration that shows us where we've been, so we can, and the straight furrows on the field give us a reasonable chance of driving in a straight line, so this one shouldn't be too hard. It's just a matter of making the right number of trips up and down the field. So 20% of the contracts used around about 100 litres. So we're on track for that 500 litres to complete the contract, which is good. We certainly will have enough here. And based on the size of this field, pretty confident that we'll have enough left over still to put on our sugar beet next month when it comes out of the ground. So looking pretty good. Just got to watch these furrows. He tends to wander a little bit. But all in all, everything going well. Just coming up towards half the field done, so you can see where we're up to. And the good news is we should be finished pretty much before it gets dark. We should certainly get home before Madeline gets food on the table. So coming along nicely. Now, where's this last little strip we're going to do down here? And that'll finish this side of the field, I think. Just this bit here. A little bit harder to see from in cab, but not too bad. You just pick it in the light. just because he was curious while he was driving around in circles. Jill made a phone call, so turns out the field values are pretty consistent. So this is quite a bit bigger than that field we're looking at near where we live, and so this one runs at about 180,000, so well and truly out of reach for the moment. The field immediately next door, just over there, is a bit smaller. It's also about 80,000. So whilst it's good land potentially to think about somewhere down the track, if we wanted to have something that was at this side of town close to the bakery, it's definitely out of our price range for now. But that's 2/3 of the work done. You can see in our little mini map down there on the corner, it gives us a good idea of where we're up to. So the area to go is shrinking pretty quickly, but we're on track to have somewhere around 400 litres of fertiliser left over when we're done. And it is going to take us to just after between 6 and 7, I suspect. Time's still ticking past. We're at a pretty quick rate, but there's only a couple of laps to go. We're over 85% now, or just on 85% done now. We can be pretty confident. We get our turns in the right line. We've probably only got one more full lap after this one, with any luck. It's looking pretty skinny on the mini map. As we come up to finish the row, I think we've just got a couple of little spots on the headland to do that obviously count for quite a bit in terms of percentage. %. There's a little spot here. And just a couple of furrows down the field here that we appear to have missed. And that's the contract finished. So that's not a bad day's work. As the sun sets, it's 5 to 7. Let's cash that one in. I'm not sure if we'll take that $5,000 one next time or not. We might borrow some equipment if we do. But for now, that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe. See you next time.